Everybody, it is time for the first Kevin Held mock draft of 2025. I know it's not Thanksgiving yet, but the Saints are 4-7, and I want to get excited about these draft picks. So I'm going to get excited. Thomas, hit that intro.
Welcome to Saints Happy Hour Podcast. We never trade up.
If there was a path to give up 3 first-round picks to get Jayden Daniels, I would do it. And I would pick Jayden Daniels.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Thanks for finding us on the YouTubes. I got Kevin with me. I got Thomas running the show back in Poland. Put a comment. It helps us with the algorithm, and it's a great way for you to just do a little something to support the show. It doesn't cost you anything, so do it. Make a comment. Help us out. All right, Kevin. Saints, they're on a bye. So we don't have any games to preview. The Rams are next week, and we've got Thanksgiving coming up. But I said to you, Kevin, we got to do a mock draft because it's time. You've been doing it on the Discord in the mock draft channel. People should join the Patreon, become a patron for Saints Happy Hour. You can get access to our Discord. It's amazing. He's doing mock drafts. But I said, Kevin, it's time to do a mock draft. The one condition I said to you, though, is you can only do one trade down.
You gave me two. Well, you gave me two conditions. You said one, we're only covering the first 4 rounds.
That's
and
right.
2, no, you can only trade once. You can only make one trade. So that was it.
But listen, to be fair, even if you didn't make a trade, even if I said, look, you 4 rounds and you can't make a trade, Saints, they have a first, they have a second, they have 2 thirds, and they have 2 fourths. So the Lattimore trade has sort of got them not where we want them to be, or me and you's ideal scenario, right? Because we want more. They need more picks. This roster stinks. They need depth because they get to survive injuries again and all that. They're not there yet, but at least with the Lattimore trade, they're moving in the right direction of having a bunch of picks in the first 4 rounds. So I'm excited about the draft. How are you been? You've been firing some of these mocks. How are you excited about the 2025 draft now that the Saints have an extra pick and you kind of been dipping your toes in the water for it, even though it's a long way off?
Well, the issue that I'm having is it depends on which mock draft machine you're using. Mm-hmm. So if you're using the PFF mock draft machine, they're not factoring in. They've got the Saints with the 87th pick in there overall, whereas the PFF one does not have the 87th pick. And I'm trying to figure out
how to plug them in, right?
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to figure out what does that mean. That might be a conditional type of pick or something like that. Like for this particular mock draft, I use the PFF system, so there is no starting off with the 87th pick.
Let me ask you this, because last year, not that we have any idea what these NFL teams think of these players, right? We have a sense, but you don't really get a sense of the NFL teams don't stop lying about it until like the week right up until the draft, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, that was all like what was it, 2 or 3 years ago when they had Kenny Pickett and the horrible quarterback draft. Teams were like, it's not that bad, and then like a week before they're like, yeah, this draft sucks. None of these quarterbacks are going high. But last year we kind of got a sense, even late in the year or very early in the year, we're like, this draft is loaded at offensive tackle, and thank God, because the Saints need one. When you're doing these mocks, just on a 10,000-foot level, where do you see a ton of positions going early?
So we kind of mentioned this on the big show, that the big board here is there's not a lot of sexy quarterback picks.
Yeah.
they're all flawed in some way, or they all carry some kind of risk, or they're all just kind of meh. So, and what's funny is those guys go because there's going to still be a ton of teams that are so desperate for some kind of turnover or turnaround or some kind of excitement. They're going to reach out and say, please be something. Or it's something you can show the fan base. Hey, we're trying to draft a franchise guy.
Yeah, well,
please buy or renew your season tickets or your PLRs or whatever the hell they call them.
Personal seat license. Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think, Kevin, that is a very positive thing that the Saints have Derek Carr. Yes, Derek Carr is mid, and he's never going to get you to our Super Bowl, but he sets a floor at quarterback where if you're the Saints, you can look at this draft and go, you know what? We got Derek Carr, and we've got him for a couple more years. We can redo his deal. Got to create some cap space. We're not diving into this quarterback draft because these quarterbacks are kind of meh. We don't really like them. We're just going to hang tight for another year with Derek Carr. And then in 2026, we'll reevaluate it. But you have teams like the Raiders, the Giants, who, brother, you got to get a quarterback. They just cut Daniel Jones, right? You have these teams. They're going to force themselves in a corner. They're going to have to talk themselves into Cam Ward. They're going to have to talk themselves into Milroe. All these different quarterbacks, right? Shedeur Sanders.
So somebody is going to talk themselves. Somebody is going to talk themselves into Nussmeier.
That's right.
Somebody's going to talk themselves into Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah. Somebody is going to reach for Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, and Drew and Drew Allar.
Yeah.
And when I say reach, I mean legitimately reach. Some of those guys may get taken at the end of the first round or the early second round. Mm-hmm. And, look, all bets are off. The Saints do not need to be taking a quarterback with any of their first whatever picks. If it were up to me, I wouldn't take a quarterback at all in this draft. I think in the tiers that I rank positions of need, I think I've got it down into like 7 tiers.
Yeah. 6
or 7 tiers. Quarterback is in the second lowest tier. The tier lowest is punter and kicker.
Yeah. I think if the Saints come out and say, listen, we are fine with Derek Carr, and we want to see a little bit more of Jay Kaner and Spencer Rattler. And if they said that after the draft and they didn't take a quarterback, that's a perfectly defensible position for me. But here's my question. But as we get started, what right now, and look, it'll change because it's not even Thanksgiving yet, but it'll change.
Right.
What is your ideal draft scenario for the Saints in a sense? Not trade down, but as we're watching the draft, what do you want to happen? You want these quarterbacks to go? Do you want corners to go? What's your ideal scenario as the Saints pick is getting closer or as they're on the clock? What's your ideal scenario for how it plays out in front of them?
So assuming that assuming they are still at 10th or around 10 and they're not trading down, I would hope that
you can do it for any scenario you want. Like, how does it need to go for you to think that they're more likely to trade down or less likely to trade down? What's your scenario that you obviously you want them to trade down, and I do too.
Right. I mean, that's the scenario
that you think plays out that maybe helps them to do that.
Shit. And here's the problem. Them picking 10th, there may not be a guy that makes it to 10 that is worth trading up for. Unless you've got some, because the problem is the really desperate teams
are going to be ahead of you.
Are all ahead of you.
That's right.
So you're looking at, like, the Bears aren't going to need a quarterback. The Colts, unless the Colts decide we want to move on from Anthony Richardson because we got bad vibes with him.
They won't.
Or unless the unless the Dolphins decide Tua is,
gets concussed again, right?
Yeah, Mr. Concussion Protocol, and we need to get another guy in here now. Yeah. Or the Rams decide we need to get a guy to sit for one more year under Stafford.
See, I think that's one.
Like, again, I'm giving you scenarios
Yeah.
now, and those are just guys.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Like, I'm looking at the rest of these teams,
It's tough.
and I'm like, I don't see them pick. I don't see these other teams picking a quarterback in the first round, or guys that would be willing to trade up. So
it's tough.
So you're looking at that, and then maybe you're looking at, okay, what if the Ravens or the Chargers, the Pack, like these guys in the late 20s, the mid to late 20s, look at it and say, we're a piece away. And there's either a wide receiver or a corner or something like that. That's like, that guy is now sitting at 10 or 11 or 12 where the Saints are, and we need to get up and get him. That's maybe the best case scenario.
Yeah, and
one of those later teams says, we got to get somebody at 10, 11, 12, and we are prepared to give you our first rounder, our second rounder, and our third rounder, because you look at the conversion chart on, I can't remember the site, but if you type in NFL draft value or NFL draft points, it'll take you to that site, and you can look at the conversion chart. Going from 5 to 10 is a huge drop in value. You are not going to get the kind of value that you could have if you were picking in the at 5.
That's right.
But if you're picking at 10 and you want to get multiple picks, you got to look at those later first round teams and say, all right, we'll move all the way back to the end of the first round, but now we're going to get we'll swap, and then we'll get the second and your third, or maybe your second, your fourth, and your fifth, things like that.
Yeah. Or a lot of times teams teams that want to move up, they'll say, hey, we'll give you our second this year and our first next year, because teams, the value of the next year's first, they don't value it as much as the first this year, right? But let's get to it, Kevin. Let's start out. What did you guys do? You had the Saints picking 10th. What'd you do at 10?
In this scenario, they're picking 10th. This is current as of last night. So this was after the Browns game. The Browns went from, I think, 3rd or 4th to 7th with that win over the Steelers. So the Saints stay at 10th. I decided to reach out before the draft even began, and I started running some scenarios with some teams that were just behind me, the Dolphins, and I looked to the AFC. I looked to the Dolphins, the Colts, the Broncos, and I wasn't happy with what I saw. So I had to go further back. I found the team that offered me a very nice deal that I was happy with. I talked to the Ravens.
Okay, here we go.
I gave the Baltimore Ravens get pick 10, and in exchange, the Saints get 24, 56, and 88.
That's a deal. But how far do you? What do the Ravens pick? How far back are you going?
We're going back 14 picks.
That's 14 spots, so 24. But see,
yeah, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I love this because now I got a first, I got 2 seconds, I got 3 thirds, and I got 2 fourths. And now you're cooking with gas because you got how many picks in the first 4 rounds? You got
here's the
5,
thing.
6, 7, 8.
Here's the thing. The PFF system does not have that 87th pick.
Oh, okay.
So you have the 1 first, the 2 seconds, and the 2 thirds. So now you have 5 picks in the top 100.
That's right. That's key.
Yeah.
That's key. Because here's the thing, and we've said it. We said it on the Zoom call with the patrons, the gold level people, and me and you have said it over and over, is the Saints, there's only one, because of what they've done with their salary cap, There's one path for them to get better. The draft. The draft. The draft. That's it. They're not going to spend any money. They didn't spend any money last year in free agency. Only Dallas spent less in free agency. And what did the Saints do in free agency later? They got the linebacker Gay, right? And did they sign? I can't think of anyone else really. So that was it, right? They Lucas Patrick. I mean, they rummage around the bargain bin, right? They did that last year. They're going to do that again this year. So if they want to get better, if they want to build depth, the draft is it. And to my way of thinking, if that's correct, and it is, you got to go quantity over. Hopefully, you get quantity and quality, but you got to have picks. And to me, Kevin, I believe a top 100, or even if you want to say top 120, that's fine. I want as many picks there as possible. A bunch of 5th and 6th round picks is better than not. But to me, there is a distinct difference in having multiple 5th round picks and having multiple 3rds or multiple 4th. To me, it's a big cliff of a difference. So you traded with Baltimore. What did we do at 24, and what were your options?
So that's the thing with the options. So I did not screen grab the options.
You can just tell us.
But let me pull back here and try and briefly recreate that.
Because here's my question.
Because look, the PFF machine will obviously take that. So we're going to start. It'll run. So, all right. So this guy ended up getting taken before that. But we had the top available pick at the time at pick 24 was the Michigan tight end Colston Loveland.
Ooh, was the LSU guy
very
Taylor?
Intriguing.
He
looked very intriguing.
Was he there?
Say again?
Was the tight end for LSU Taylor? Was he there?
God, he's not even rated that high.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's actually okay. He's the 3rd rated tight end, but he's 53rd overall.
Okay.
So that's a late 2nd round grade on that guy.
Well, mid second round. Okay. Fair enough. But
so
tight
he
end,
wasn't showing up there.
I mean, tight end, you got
right. Tight end, very important need.
Yep.
You had another Michigan player, the defensive tackle Kenneth Grant, who was there.
Ooh.
You had Michael Williams, the edge guy from Georgia. Shamar Stewart, the edge guy from Texas A&M. And you had the wide receiver from Stanford and the halfback from North Carolina.
This is
it's like there are quality people. There will be quality people at the end of the 1st round, regardless. It's just, do you want... It's going to come. Okay, it's going to come down to your biggest needs. Like obviously, every team's got their own draft board or whatever. It's going to come down to whatever you think the biggest need is. And are we looking at best player available versus this guy? This need is more important, and we can still get a good guy. We can get a good guy at the thing that's our highest need, and we can wait a little bit for somebody at one of our other positions of need.
Yeah, I just wonder with this draft, because people say, hey, it's not that deep, and they only have 7 or 8 really, really good players, and then the rest of them are kind of lumped together. I wonder, is like the 10th player or the 11th player that say the Saints would pick, right? Is he really close to the 24 player and the 53 player? So you're even more likely to trade back because you say, hey, listen, those top 8 guys, we didn't get any of them. None of them fell. And the 10th guy and the 24th guy and the 53rd guy, they're all really, really close. So we want to have multiple grabs in the bag because we know they're all similar. So, but who did you end up going with at 24?
Okay. So I went with Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Yeah.
He is the second rated defensive interior lineman overall, behind his Michigan teammate, Mason Graham, who's the 3rd overall ranked player or rated player in the entire draft.
Yeah. And
So,
to me, yeah.
I think you go, like, I wasn't totally, it's not that I wasn't happy with the edge guys available. I think there are enough good edge guys who can come in and either perform better than Cam Jordan or Chase Young later in the draft. Like I think in terms of what we've seen from the Saints edge this year, we can improve that by waiting just a little bit.
Yeah, and defensive tackle you can't. Right?
Correct.
You got to get.
And here's find the defensive tackle, plug the hole, immediately improve the rush defense.
That's right.
That to me was the most important thing.
That's right.
At pick 24.
That's to me like they need a dude who is, you know what they need? They need another David Onyemata. Just a dude who's not great. I mean, obviously you if you could get Aaron Donald, if this guy's Aaron Donald, awesome, right? But what the Saints need more than anything is they just need a dude who is sturdy in there, right? Can't get pushed around. Make your run get your run defense back to respectability. So I like this pick, and I know people, they get all excited and they get like a twinge, and they like pick the small guy from like Northeast Central Townsend State or wherever. But like, nothing wrong with going with the big box store and getting what you need. And Michigan, right? Brand name. Pick the guy. I like it. I like this pick. So where did you go with the next pick?
Well, and this dude is 6'3", weighs 340.
Yeah, because you got to consider the Raz.
Well,
Jeff Ireland
and that's the other thing to consider is like, look, we're going to be doing all these mock drafts. I do all these mock drafts. I've said it before. After the bowl games, it's like you get a reset.
Yeah.
After the combine, you get another reset. After the personal workouts, you get another reset. It's like a big reset, then incremental small resets on people.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing that sucks is like, of the top 50, probably you're probably going to have 2 or 3 guys between now and bowl season, and including the bowls, they're going to get hurt. You know,
might be more. It's either they're going to get hurt or they're going to suddenly fall off and slip completely out of the top 50, and then you're going to have enough guys that are going to move into those spots, into that ranking system, into the ranking system. In fact, that happened twice.
Yeah.
On this mock that I was doing, that these names jumped out at me. So you're going to have that happen.
And the thing is, remember, the last couple of years, basically, you had 4 teams where they're in the playoffs. Everybody on their team is playing. They're not worried about draft status. They're trying to win a national title. But every other team, they're like, brother, this ain't a playoff game. LSU did it last year. Neighbors and Jaden, they're like, brother, we're done. We're not doing this. But now, Kevin, you got 12 teams. So you're going to have more of that top talent risking injury, and you're going to play in, if teams win, multiple playoff games. So I really think your top 50, 75 guys, you're going to have, unfortunately, it sucks because you're going to have a shakeup. You're going to have less talent to go. But back to your next pick. What did you do?
Okay. So round 2 now. This is the Saints round 2 pick. Pick 42.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I said, I still believe that the biggest needs for me at this point are edge and guard.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, edge and guard are my 2 are probably in my top tier, which is it is guard and edge. I just pulled it up.
Yeah.
Which is, obviously funny because I took an interior defensive lineman, but interior defensive lineman is in my second tier.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like the
I like the positioning. I liked where the guy was, and I felt that we could get better at edge later, which I said.
Yeah.
Case in point, this one, pick 42, Ole Miss.
Ooh, now you got.
Yeah, brother, you are going to have, it's going to be a field day listening to you try to pronounce this, because I don't know what the hell
I watch Ole Miss. I know what's coming.
Princely Uman Milan.
Princely, see,
that's I guarantee you it ain't that easy.
Princely Uman. Look, Ole Miss's defense.
Princely, Princely. There we go.
But if he's good, the Prince jokes can just flow like wine.
Yeah, brother, I don't care. Yeah, listen, you come in there, you blaze past the edge and put a guy on his ass enough, you call yourself
Purple
whatever.
Purple.
Yeah, right. Call yourself whatever. Like, somebody will make a poster. Somebody will make a poster of you with your headshot with the Biggie poster with the crown tilted
head
to the side.
Yeah.
And put your head on there.
Here's my
fine. Whatever.
Here's my concern with this with Princely is I watch Ole Miss. Everybody in my family except for me graduated there. Here's my concern. That defensive line is really, really good across the board. They're not all going to be good NFL players. So it's about identifying the ones that are good. And the example I'll use is when Clemson was winning all those national titles, they had a bunch of dudes on the defensive line. They had Christian Wilkins, they had Clemens, and they had like 3 or 4. And the Raiders picked the wrong one at like pick 4, right? And the Dolphins got the one that plays for the Raiders. They got the right ones like 20 picks later. And I'm not saying don't pick them. I'm just saying that's my concern.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
No, go ahead. No, finish your thought.
That's just my concern that Ole Miss has a bunch of dudes on the defensive line and they're all really appealing, but I have no idea which one's going to be good in the NFL. But if you're going to take a defensive lineman, take it from the school that might have the best front 4 pass rush wise in college football.
The same rule, it's like we all get. I've made this point multiple times before. How many good college quarterbacks that people say this guy's got talent, this guy's got potential, get picked in the top 8 or if you want to narrow it and say top 4 or whatever, and they just turn out to be shit, or they get run out of the league in a few years because they're bad? It's because they got drafted by a crap franchise that had nothing around them. It's like Joey Harrington. Like, again, I'm not trying to defend Joey Harrington.
But if you put him with Sean Payton, would he have been better?
Or even David Carr. But it's like, put Joey Harrington on a more competent team. Put David Carr on a more competent team. And see what that looks like.
That's right.
I guarantee you they're probably playing a little better. They're not going to.
That's right.
Like, he's not going to turn out to be. I'm not saying, if you put Joey Harrington on some other team that he's going to become an all-pro. No, but he's not going to be what we know as Joey Harrington.
Well, no, I'll give you a perfect example.
So the same rule applies.
Yeah.
With these guys, with these other positions. It's like, okay, the Raiders took this guy. Well, the Raiders are a suck-ass team. So you're pulling a guy who was on a great front defensive line, and now you're plugging him into a team where it's like, now you have to step up so high, and everybody else is just kind of like, This guy isn't going to be able to do it at the pro level on his own, whereas he comes in later, gets drafted by a better team that has better components on defense, better teammates, all these other kinds of things. It's like, he can fit right in, and there you go.
Yeah, and do what you can do and figure out the rest, right? And it's a great point. We do that all the time with quarterbacks, right? And we make excuses for them, and sometimes it's not just excuses; it's reasons. You went to the Jets. The Jets are a dumpster fire the last 20 years. Of course, you were going to fail, and we do that with quarterbacks all the time. But with other positions, they go to a crappy team and they're no good. We're just like, crappy team. He sucked. He sucked. He was a linebacker, and he sucks with the Jets. We never say, oh, but it's the Jets, and their infrastructure is bad, and the coaching's bad. We only seem to do that for quarterbacks. So, Kevin, that's a great point. And I got to say.
And listen, I will admit that there are true tape eaters, game watchers, like genuine ball talkers who will watch this stuff and can really analyze it and could really pinpoint and say, okay, this person really is performing well on a bad team, or this person in particular is not performing as well as they could or should on a good team. I'm not saying that it's as easy as, oh, you got drafted by the Raiders. Oh, you got drafted by the Giants. You got drafted by the Jaguars. It's not always that, but you can't just dismiss it.
No, you can't. So what do you got? The second round pick, what do you have?
Okay. So the pick we got from the Ravens, the other second round pick, at this point, I saw some cornerbacks, saw another edge guy. Let me scroll down a little bit further. Started to see some halfbacks poking up. The guy from Ohio State, Travion Henderson, he was still there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Mason Taylor was popped up, guy from LSU, and Gunnar Helm had showed up.
So where'd you go?
From Texas.
Where'd you go? Did you go need or best player?
Need, brother. Need.
What do you got for me?
Guard from Georgia, Tate Ratledge.
Yeah.
To me, guard and edge are the two biggest needs. Gun to my head. Pick one, guard.
Yeah, and
guard is the biggest need. The Saints, again, I will tell. Your starting guards are Nick Saldiveri and Cesar Ruiz. Your backups to them are Lucas Patrick and Landon Young.
That's right.
Good luck.
Right. Good luck. And here's the thing. I know this draft. There's a percentage of Saints fans, casuals or diehards even, it would frustrate the hell out of them because they would say, listen, you've drafted Peyton Turner, you drafted Nick Foskey, you drafted you drafted Saldiveri, and they all dud, they're all bombs, and you're doing it again. But here's the thing, the lines suck. You gotta be good on the lines. Like look at Detroit. Detroit kicks everyone's ass because their offensive line mauls people. And you can't, the picks of Foskey and all those, they're done. You got to fix the lines. Kevin, I love this draft so far.
Here's the other good selling point. Tate Ratledge, highest rated guard on the PFF big board.
I love it.
Highest rated guard. And
Georgia, elite competition, good offense, Kirby Smart, great foundation. I mean, like the Saints, they just need a bunch of dudes. They need a bunch of rookies from this draft class, Kevin, that next year, when we're at this point next year, what I want them to have this kind of draft that you did, where they drafted 6, 7, 8 guys in the top 4 rounds, and a bunch of them are playing. And we're like, I don't know if they're good. It's only been half a year, and Juge is eating the tape, and he's like, these 3 are struggling. These 3 are looking okay, and these 2, I really don't know about it, but they're all playing. And we're all like, well, at the end of the year, we'll have an answer because they're all going to play 700 snaps or whatever the hell. That's what the Saints need, especially on defense, because that defense is old and it is ass. Don't let the last 2 weeks fool you. It is ass on defense. The front 7, they're getting pushed around. They need youth. I love this draft so far. What are you doing with the second round pick?
And here's the other thing too, is so this guy, Ratledge, He is primarily a right guard. I get that Cesar Ruiz is the right guard, but Cesar Ruiz seems to keep getting hurt, and I would rather draft a guy who can come in and immediately be like, all right, if Cesar Ruiz keeps getting hurt, we throw this guy in, or start teaching the guy left guard.
That's right.
I get it.
They did it with Fuaga. They moved Fuaga to the other side, so it could
correct.
possibly.
And he's turned out okay.
He's turned out okay. So what do you got?
All right. So the 3rd round pick. What is this one now? Shoot. This is the Saints pick in the 3rd round. This is where a name popped up that I had not seen before regularly, that seemed to just sort of come out of nowhere. Let me find him so I can give you the exact. Because there were a couple of regulars that I had seen. Trends. This is odd. So maybe this guy has just been getting drafted.
So yeah. So they got some. We still got a ton of needs. So what is it?
Oh yeah, no, we definitely have a ton of needs. So what I did, I went back to my tiered list of needs.
Yeah.
2nd tier, I have defensive interior, I have cornerback, I have wide receiver. There were a couple. There was 2 wideouts that were there. But I just didn't. They just, I'm a vibes guy, obviously. They didn't stand out to me as like sexy picks. So I didn't go with them. Instead, I went with a corner that was there.
That's okay. What's the corner?
Corner out of LSU.
Oh, brother.
Zy Alexander.
Oof.
Now before anybody starts castigating me or saying this, that, or the other thing about him, here's the deal. He's played 8 games. He's been on all the over 400 snaps thus far.
Yeah.
The quarterback passer rating, opponent QB passer rating against him, 11.6.
Yeah.
He has given up 0 touchdowns. He has recorded 2 interceptions. He's been targeted 28 times. He's only given up 9 receptions for 48 yards. So this guy is on the field and people are not going at him.
Yeah, that's part of the concern because LSU's defense is it's gotten better this year. I will say that they were historically 2015, 2014 Saints level bad last year, and they've improved significantly this year. The thing that I'll say why I like this pick as well, Kevin, is listen, the days of. And I try to explain this to people on Twitter, but maybe I'm just being too snarky. They're like, well, what if the coordinator the Saints get, what if they go from a 4-3 to a 3-4? And I'm like, it's not 2006 anymore. It's not 1997 anymore. Like the days of, do I play a 4-3 or a 3-4? Those days are over. Like the Saints play at most 2 linebackers. Like your 3rd corner is not for depth, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
You play 3 corners all the time. You play 2 on the outside and the slot. And you do that 65, 70% of the time. So like this guy, I know most Saints fans would be like, hey, we got Alante, we got Kool-Aid, we just drafted Kool-Aid. You drafted another corner? Yes, we're drafting another corner because Lattimore got traded and Alante Taylor, Adebo broke his leg in horrific fashion. He may or may not be back on a cheap deal. So again, it's corner to me is not the biggest need, but it ain't a luxury pick, brother. It ain't a luxury.
I'll tell you this. Lathan Ransom, the safety out of Ohio State, who I have taken in several mock drafts, he was gone in this scenario by pick 74. I would have considered taking the safety over the corner.
I would have.
Because the safety, and listen, I may have to readjust my tiered draft position list, and in fact that might be a fun thing for us to do in the future. But had he been there, I'd have done some serious weighing. But
I think you do, because look at
I looked at in terms of need. I didn't like the wide receiver options that were there. The safety I would have considered wasn't there. There were defensive linemen. I didn't want to take another one. I didn't want to take a guard immediately, back to back. So I went with the corner, and I feel happy with that pick.
I'm happy with it that you told, because you told me the other safeties the safety that you really thought about wasn't there. But if I got to this pick and it was a safety or a corner and they're both equal, if I'm the Saints, Kevin, I think I'd go safety, because here's my reasoning.
Yeah.
Jordan Howden, he hasn't really progressed this year. And listen, the development is not fans, we like to think development is a straight line for players, but it's not always a straight line. So don't give up on him yet. Their Saints are still playing him a lot. That's a good sign. Will Harris, they picked him up off the scrap heap off Detroit. And Honey Badger, Matthew, he's been pretty solid this year. But Kevin, he's at that age where, yes, if you're the Saints, you bring him back because you have salary committed to him next year. But I really want a safety, because when you get into safety and you're in your 30s, you never know where that cliff is going to hit you. And if you draft a safety in the 3rd round and you get to next year and you're like, Honey Badger, we love you. You're awesome. You're an LSU icon. It's been really great having you with the Saints. You've been here. This is year 4 of you being here. We've loved it. It's great. We don't have any regrets. But, man, you're no good anymore. If you got a rookie, you start phasing them in. If you don't have a rookie and you got Honey Badger, you're in that same situation with Cam Jordan, where you're like, he fell off a cliff, but we kind of have to go back to him because we don't got anything else. So I would lean safety here over corner, but like you said, the corner, the safety was gone, so you took the LSU corner. So what's next?
All right, so this was the Ravens 3rd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is the final top 100 pick. And when I got to pick 88, I started seeing a couple more tight ends.
Yeah, they need a tight end.
I saw Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green, who's shown up a lot. I've taken him in some mock drafts. I like the numbers on the guy. I saw the safety, Nick Emanwari from South Carolina. Liked him. This one was almost I wish I could do it over again.
Here we go.
Because I saw the wide receiver from LSU, Kieran Lacy.
He was still there?
He was there.
Wow.
He was there at pick 88.
Ooh, I mean.
And I'm
glad you were doing this and not me. My LSU bias would have kicked in.
And I really wanted to take him.
You did. Did you?
No, I did not.
Oh, no. So who'd you take?
So I grabbed another guard because I said, listen, if one of these guys hits,
that's right.
Great. If one of these guys if both of these guys can become starters in 2 years, that's even better.
That's right.
So I went with Armaj Reed Adams out of Texas A&M.
Okay.
He is the 5th rated guard in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now that meant giving up Kieran Lacy at wide receiver.
Dang, see.
So, and I'll tell you this right now. I'll dispense with I'll eliminate the suspense. I didn't grab a wide receiver until the 7th round.
Wow.
Which admittedly is a huge need and is probably the biggest whiff on my part in this entire mock draft. Because here's the thing. Had I taken Kieran Lacy right here, I still had 2 very good options at guard available at pick 111. And I'll tell you who they were. It was Jaden Roberts from Alabama and Luke Kandra from Cincinnati.
See,
they were still available.
See, I would have gone that way because I you know me, I am, and I wish the Saints would do it more. I am pro double dipping. Like if you need a position, grab one, grab another one, because like you say, if you get Cesar Ruiz keeps getting injured and you hit on both of these guards, then all of a sudden you got Fuaga, 2 first or second year guards, McCoy and Penning, and you got a young, cheap, good offensive line. And you know what that helps? That helps your running back and that helps your quarterback, and you can go spend other places, right? Because you're like, we got cost control for like 2-3 years. So I get it, but man, oh man, I like wide receiver to me.
I get it.
You
and
got
the double
concussion Olave, Shaheed off the knee.
Wide receiver is a huge need.
Yeah.
Huge need.
So what?
So we went to pick 111. Like I said, those 2 guards were there, Jaden Roberts and Luke Kandra. Didn't take them. Let me scroll down a little bit further here. I saw Carson Beck sitting there.
Ugh, no.
Like he's fallen. He's falling.
He's like,
no. I saw Rod Moore, the safety from Michigan, briefly considered him, started seeing tackles that were still there, the 2 tackles from Oregon. Linebackers were showing up. But there was one guy that sort of stuck out to me, and it was somebody that I have not looked at before. There were 2 running backs, and I want to find the...
Well,
Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State was sitting there.
Oh, okay.
No. I take it back. It wasn't Ollie Gordon. It was Taj Brooks from Texas Tech, Jonah Coleman from Washington, and R.J. Harvey from Central Florida.
Okay.
And in fact, you know what? I think I'm confusing. Taj Brooks might have been the one who was there when I took Armaj Reed Adams. So Jonah Coleman and R.J. Harvey were the 2 definitely there. And I was looking at the both of them. And I looked at both. Let me pull this up here. And I loved R.J. Harvey and Jonah Coleman. Loved the general analytics on both of them. But Jonah Coleman is at just over 1,000 yards this season. R.J. Harvey this season is over 1,300 yards, 19 total touchdowns.
Ooh. Yes, please.
Or I'm sorry, 21 total touchdowns. Blew, in my opinion, the stats blew Jonah Coleman out.
Yeah. So
I went with R.J. Harvey as the 4th round pick. That's the final pick in this particular mock draft.
I like Pete. We can make PJ Harvey jokes. I like that.
I thought we need a definitive backup / potential inheritor for when Alvin Kamara is done. And I decided this is where you got to make that move.
I think that's clear. The one thing with this draft that I think you made really, not picking Lacy, I can't defend that. But the other decision I like Alexander at corner. I think the thing that is going to be difficult for the Saints for us is, what do you do if you're the Saints and Kendra Miller, if he comes back off IR and he gets injured again or he stinks, right? Then it's clear as day. We got to get a running back, and we probably got to get another running back in the top 4 rounds, maybe even the top 3, right?
Right.
I think where it becomes...
But again, that fuels the trade down.
That's right.
Philosophy, because you need to have more top 100, top 110 picks in order to justify saying we're only gonna take one guard, or we're only gonna take one edge player, one defensive interior, or we may go tight end and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get a running back. Well, brother, you got other things that also are important. So get more picks.
That's right.
Because at the very least, let's look. All these guys aren't going to work out, but you can at least have the fan base saying, hey, they tried bringing people. They tried drafting people. They went after needs. They pulled people in, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that excuse is going to hold water the entire season, but it certainly gives you some breathing room.
Yeah. Well, there's like we said before, there's no other way to get this roster better. And I love it. I would ideally, Kevin, when I look at this, if the Saints could have one more top pick in the top 110. I know this one is a 111, but if you could get me 7 in the top 110 picks, that way I would be really happy, because I think if
I could do that, but you told me I could only do one trade.
Well, no. I know you could only do one trade, but ideally, this is what because I want a 10-player draft this year and a 10-player draft in 2026, and in 2027, I want the roster. You say you draft 10 and 10, they all won't make the roster, but if you have say you get 7 one year and 6 the next make the roster. That's 13 dudes that have made the roster. You've done a really good job of flipping over your roster. And then by then, you can start to spend in free agency because your cap's back to normal, right?
Right.
So I like this draft. Your biggest, before we get out of here, your pick that made you the happiest and your biggest regret of this draft.
So there's the rest of the draft right there. I went center, decided to get a backup for McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I like that.
And then at that point went tight end, wide receiver. Terrence Ferguson had fallen all the way to the 6th round. I was like, I like the numbers, so decided to go get him. And then at that point in the 7th round, I was like, I got to find a wide receiver and hope that this guy is good enough to make the team. So I went and grabbed a wide receiver. My biggest regret is not taking Kieran Lacy when I should have taken him. I think the pick that I'm happiest with is seeing Ratledge fall to 56.
Yeah.
And grabbing him then. So it's literally just back to back, like those 2 picks in that 2nd round pick and that 3rd round pick. Like happiest with the guard pick, not happy with I would say regret. Because look,
yeah,
I'm happy that I got Alexander, but that's still the biggest regret. That's the biggest what? No, not Zy Alexander, Armaj Reed Adams. That's the one that I should have taken Kieran Lacy on, because he had dropped 88. That's what it was. Sorry.
But here's the thing, Kevin. If this draft, if you said one of those 2 defensive linemen you pick is going to be a very good starter from day one, whether it's the edge or whether it's the interior. If you say one of those guys is going to be very good, one of those guys is going to struggle and not give you much the first year. One of your guards is going to be a really, really good to solid starter from day one. And Alexander is going to play and be up and down at corner as your 3rd corner. If that's what you got out of this draft, that's a B+ draft. And the Saints desperately need it. To me, you need 2 starters and a contributor minimum out of this draft. You'd like more, but that's what you need. And you can't, the Saints' problem is the Saints' biggest problem to me, Kevin, is their misses have been so egregious. Foskey, he's not even playing, right?
Right.
And he's not even playing. His is a talent issue. Miller not playing because he's injured. Think about how different we'd view these drafts if I'm not even saying Foskey is, I'm not even saying he's Trey Hendrickson. I'm saying if Foskey was playing this year and had 2 sacks, and 9 pressures and was a rotation guy and was playing 20 snaps, we'd at least be, well, his first year, he didn't play at all. This year, he's playing a little bit better. Maybe he's on that Trey Hendrickson plan. By year 4, we'll have something, right? Or if Kendra Miller was healthy and getting 10, 8, 6, 7 carries a game, and even if he didn't look great, you'd be like, well, he was hurt last year. This year, he's coming along. The problem is none of these guys are playing at all. So they need guys that they hit on that are good enough to play when they're young, and we can at least, like you said earlier, give us hope. There's like, to me, there's no hope. Like if you think Foss, like there is even my delusional optimism. I can't lie to you and tell you there's any reason to be positive about the Foskis or even the Kendra Millers. They need these rookies to freaking play next year. They desperately need that out of a class. I'm not even saying 2017 or 2016 level, Kevin, but they just need a good, I don't even know like the word. They just needed a sturdy draft class. Maybe is the word. What would you describe it as?
No, sturdy is a good word. Sturdy is a good word. Like I think the needs on this team are so many that you're 2-1, like 2 starters, 1 contributor. You got to up that. I think it's 3 starters. I think it's either 3 starters, 2 contributors, or 2 starters, 4 contributers.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be something like that. All right, I got to let the bug guy, the exterminator in. So if you want to wrap, go ahead.
I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to give us a like and leave a comment for the algorithm. It's a great way to support the show for free. If you like what you saw, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Saints Happy Hour so we can keep this amazing thing going. Thanks to Thomas for running the show back in Poland. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the off week. And we will see you next Tuesday night on the live stream. Until then, the bar is closed.